How's it going, everyone? My name is Gio from Everything NYJ. I am your host tonight, and I got a special guest with me, Mr. Matt O'Leary. Matt O'Leary, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. Like I told you before, when it comes to Mount Rushmore, you are one of those guys up there for me. Big fan. Happy you're on and talk Jets football.
I love it. That's some high praise, but I really appreciate that. That means a lot.
Yeah, definitely, buddy. So Liam has a family emergency tonight, so I'm holding down the fort. We wish him well on whatever's going on, but we'll carry on. Now, first thing I want to talk about, congratulations, Mr. Joe Klecko. Love it, baby. Love it. I got him up here. So happy for him. It's a long time coming. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, this is to say long overdue might be an understatement. This is a guy
Agreed.
who has, he was an all-pro at 3 different positions for the Jets. He's a Hall of Famer in every sense of the world. It's a shame that it's taken this long, but finally it looks like he's getting in.
I couldn't agree more. And especially with Revis cut commitment maybe 2023 as well. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's a great point. Darrelle Revis is up for it this year. He should get in too. And the two of them going in together, it'd be great to get multiple Jets in there in one shot. That's pretty exciting.
And then I also heard, I saw on social media that Antonio Cromartie is also up next for CBs as well. What do you think about that one?
Okay, I didn't realize that. I don't know if he will make the Hall of Fame. I think he was a solid player, but I don't know if he's on that level of elite level talent.
Yeah, I love Antonio Cromartie, what he did with Revis, as you can agree. But I hope he gets in, but we'll see, because you never know. Like this year, we thought Joe Klecko was going to be in, and now it looks like he might be in next year, and we all know what we love about Revis. So hopefully we see what happens, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It'd be phenomenal, but you never know, right?
You're right. You never know, especially with the NFL nowadays, especially with the Hall of Fame game. That's what we both want.
Yes, that'd be great. That'd be a ton of fun if the Jets are playing in a Hall of Fame game.
Amen to that. So my first question for you, Mr. Matt, is how did you get your start on social media, becoming a writer and just media in general?
So this is something that I've been interested in for a very, very long time. Pretty much when I was old enough to realize that being a professional baseball player wasn't a realistic option. I was like, I want to be involved in sports in some way. And I was always a very good English student and I loved writing. So I wanted to be a sports writer. I wrote for my high school paper and then got a scholarship to go to college for journalism. Did that for a while, did some broadcasting as well there, worked for the school's radio station. I actually, after graduating, stayed on and ran the radio station and taught a radio broadcasting class for, I think, 3 or 4 years. And then after that, I just around this time last year, actually, I joined over with Odds Checker US as a sports writer for them. So I'm covering sports gambling every day for them. And yeah, it's just something that I'm really passionate about. I've created the YouTube channel, I think 4 or 5 years ago. At this point, it was around the time I was graduating college. I wasn't going to be doing my college radio show anymore. And I wanted to continue to have that outlet. And I started talking about New York sports on YouTube. And then I noticed that, hey, these Jet videos are doing pretty good. Maybe I should just talk about the Jets. And then it took off from there.
Man, that's awesome. And you do a very good job. How long have you been doing that for?
Yeah, I think it was 2018 was the first Jets season that I covered. And again, like I said, at that time, it was a mix of not only was it just the Jets, but it was New York sports as a whole. And then for the 2019 season is really when I went all in on just hyper focusing in on the Jets. And I've been doing that for the last few years and met a lot of really awesome people, worked with Ryan and Green Bean, do a show with them, I think for probably the last 3 years or so. And yeah, it's grown beyond my wildest dreams. I always say that it's a passion project for me. I'd still be doing it if I was talking to 0 people on this, just doing it for the fun of it. I love making videos and I love talking about sports and the Jets. So it's just something I've always really been passionate about, and I'm blown away with how it's gone.
Man, that's awesome. I love hearing like stories like that and people's journeys on how when it comes to college or whatever you did in your 20s till now. It's cool to see, and I mean I know we're all such big fans. My second question for you is, what is your favorite content to share on social media or just any platform? Like, is there a specific thing that you like more than the other?
Ooh, I'm probably between either a YouTube video because that's obviously the bread and butter, and I love the creativity there. But I also love Twitter. I'm not probably. I definitely am addicted to Twitter. I am on there way too often, but I love how quickly you're able to get information. And I love for myself personally, I like to try to keep it light on Twitter. There's people who take themselves a little too serious for my taste on there. I like to have fun and have a good time. So I think I'm always having the most fun on Twitter. Just you're able to follow along with things live tweeting the Jets game is one of my favorite things to do. But the way YouTube has really helped launch my career in this is I have to pay homage to that. So those two, I'm going to say those two are my favorite. Either live tweeting a Jets game or making a video.
Man, that's awesome. I know a lot of people. I feel like for me, when it comes to Twitter and Instagram, I don't know how much you're on Instagram or Facebook like that, but I feel like you get the most information sometimes nowadays on those platforms, but like the NFL app or CBS app. I feel like social media is better now. Like you'll get it right away when you look up something, but those notifications, I feel like they're not as good as they used to be. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. I think in today's world, when social media, it just allows you to have access to really all kinds of information. And there's a niche for everything. Like for us with the Jets, you can find people and follow people who are so in tune to the Jets, and you get the reactions and the stories as soon as they're breaking. But it's in everything, and whether you're into news, politics, entertainment, whatever. There, there's going to be an account for you, and there's always a niche. Some people might think, well, I don't know, I'm really into basket weaving. I might be the only one who does that. There's probably 100 basket weaving YouTube channels out there that do really great content, or social media channels. And I've been able, like I said earlier, I've been lucky to meet people that I would have never met in my life if I didn't start doing this. But we connected over the internet, and that's and through social media, and that's the blessing of living in today's world where you have all this access right on your phone.
I couldn't agree more. Amen to all that. My third question is, how long have you been a Jets fan? Because I've been a Jets fan since I was like 9 years old, but mine's a little bit more trickier. But what about you?
Yeah, so for me, I always point to when I was 8. So in 2003, I remember vividly. It was a Sunday, and I went to work with my dad. He owns a towing company, so he drives a tow truck, and I went on a call with him, which wasn't uncommon for me as a kid. I loved that too. And we were talking about, oh, it's a football Sunday. And I don't know how we were talking about people like going to games and tailgating. And I was like, oh my God, like that sounds like so much fun. And like all the food that they would make and stuff like that. And he's like, you know what? When we go home today, we're going to watch, we'll watch the Jets game, and we'll have like tailgate food, and which is what we did. We had, like appetizers and like finger food, and watch the game. And I'll never forget it. The Jets lost. It was the Jets Miami Dolphins. Ricky Williams ran wild on the Jets that day, but I was hooked. I was a fan for life at that point. And then really like that 2004 season, that next year, I was 9 years old. Jets made the playoffs, had an upset win against the Chargers. I was like, this is me. I was all in. And also too, like I live on Long Island. I'm like 10 minutes from Hofstra where the Jets used to practice. So around that time too, I was going to, multiple practices and training camp throughout the off season. And that just took it to a whole nother level.
Man, that's awesome. When I speak to a lot of like men and women when it comes to their stories, they always talk about like Hofstra, just like Liam. Liam, he actually lives in Long Island. he talks about all the time when it comes to Wayne Corbett and stuff like that. So following up with that, what is your favorite memory at MetLife Stadium?
Ooh, okay. I would probably have to say so at MetLife, I was at the Jets Patriots game in 2015, the Eric Decker overtime game, which is probably by far the best Jets game that I've ever been to. Um, I don't usually go to a ton of games. Maybe I'll get to like one a year, something like that. And I had a good friend growing up who had season tickets, so I was lucky enough to usually go with him. And his seats are right behind, right in the end zone on the first level. And we were like right there. Like it had the play developed and happened right in front of us. I'll never forget that moment when it was like, oh my God, they just won this game. They upset the Patriots. And now if they go up to Buffalo and win, they're in the playoffs. Obviously, we know what happened, unfortunately, but just an unbelievable moment at the stadium.
Man, you're telling me when Eric Decker, I was watching at home, and I told my parents, just get away from me. I want to watch overtime. I need to see this happen. And once Eric Decker did that, I mean I went crazy, and a lot of people like just went crazy. A lot of people thought with when we had Brandon Marshall, when Marshall got Forte to come in, and then with Eric Decker, I really thought like we were gonna make it so far, even past the Patriots, to go in the playoffs.
Yeah, so did I. That was such a disappointing end to that era because 2015 was such a fun season. They tried to run it back in 2016, and it all, kind of fell apart from there. But yeah, I'll never forget that year in particular. It was fun. They didn't make the playoffs, but it was a fun year, and that moment for sure.
Definitely. Now, I know you talk about MetLife and how you became a fan as well. Um, so do you go to training camp much? And if you do, what is your favorite memory at training camp?
Not as much now. I usually like to go to the green and white scrimmage. I
Hmm.
didn't get a chance to go this year. I was away, but I'm going to the preseason game Monday actually. But I would
Okay.
have to say outside, like when I was younger at Hofstra, there was a lot more training camp memories that I had. For instance, I remember getting a Brad Smith autograph. I was like, that was so cool. And just, that era, like the 2006 era Jets. But more recently at the green and white scrimmage, I think it was last year. Yeah, Zach's rookie year. I met Ali from loyal NYJ fans. And that was actually, believe it or not, the first time that I met Ryan in person after
Hmm.
doing a show with him for 2 years. So that was really cool. So that's probably my favorite, more recent training camp memory.
Is that when the balls were rolling to get like Ryan and Green Bean and you to collab on having a show?
That was like a year or two after. I mean, that was only last year. It was before, so we were all gonna get together for the home opener. Like we knew that was coming in September. But I just so happened to be going, and Ryan just so happened to be going, and Ali was there too. And we all sat together and watched the practice. It was really cool. Like I said, I feel like I know so many people through this platform now that I talk to every day online, but like you don't always get the opportunity to meet these people. But we were able to meet, and it was great.
Man, that's awesome. I love hearing stuff like that. I know we were talking about, Joe Klecko and Revis and Cromartie. In your words, from it could be a Jets player in the last 5 years, it could be a Jets player maybe when you were a kid or even before that that haven't been in the Hall of Fame yet. Who do you think should be in the Hall of Fame after 2023 for a Jets player?
Ooh, yeah, like Revis is the one that makes the most sense. I don't know if there's a more recent one besides Revis and Klecko are the obvious ones who are left out. Mark Gastineau, I think you could honestly make a case for too. That he's not in the Hall of Fame. I see you have the stuff behind you. I love that sack. That's awesome. But like growing up, I mean, he's in, but Curtis Martin was a big reason for why I got hooked into football. So being able to see, I was pretty young towards the end of his career. I only saw really the last couple years of his career, but he was so different. You just knew anytime the ball was in his hands, something special could happen. And like I said, that was one of the main reasons why I got so attached to this team.
Oh, man, that's really cool. For me, with your Curtis Martin story, for me it was Wayne Corbett and Joe Namath. So those are my guys. I love Sagan, Curtis Martin, LaDainian Tomlinson, and everything like that. So I totally understand. So when it comes to so you're going to the game Monday, you said, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you want to see Monday night from now the right now Jets? What do you want to see happen in that game since you're going to see it up front?
Yeah, I mean, when I when I got the tickets, I wanted to see Zach, but that's not happening, obviously. But realistically, what I'm going to be keeping a close eye on is the defensive line rotation, because I'm really curious to see how the coaching staff decides who stays and who gets cut. Because I think that's their deepest unit on this team. They have like 15 guys right now on the roster, and obviously you can't carry 15 defensive linemen, but they're going to have to make some difficult decisions when it comes to who stays and who goes. So I think we'll get a better idea for who they really like when you're, sitting and watching this game, and who's getting in at what points, and, who plays well. Michael Clemens, I thought, looked really good. Jabari Zuniga, I thought, looked good. Tenzel Smart, these guys are, maybe not so much Clemens, but these other guys are kind of fighting for, roster spots here. So yeah, that's really what I think I'm going to be keeping my eye on.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Love to hear it. So before the game on Monday, I know we're having joint practices this weekend and next weekend. You a fan of joint practices? Do you like that kind of stuff? What are your thoughts on joint practices?
Yeah, I don't mind it. I think it just adds a different element, right? Because you're so used to going up against the same guys every single day. I think this kind of allows you to see what your team really is going to look like this year, or even in this game, right? Because, like I said, they kind of get used to each other. And there's training camp, brawls, whether it's between, the two opposing teams or your own teams. There's been fights. So I'm not really concerned about it. Like, I know a lot of people have said, like, oh, Carl Lawson got hurt at these combined practices last year. So, like, these are dumb. I don't like injuries are an unfortunate part of the game. I don't really see that as it's because they practice against the Panthers the Packers. That's why he got hurt. So I think it's a good thing for the teams to match up with each other.
I agree. I'm looking forward to it, but I'm also just hoping, knock on wood, just no one gets hurt, right? We don't
Yes.
want anyone to get hurt. We already dealt with enough last year. We don't need any more hiccups and surprises this year. So
No, yeah, losing Becton and Wilson for that short amount of time early this year, that's enough. I'm all set with injuries for now.
amen to that. Amen to that. Now, I know we already had one preseason game. Training camp has been going on last 2 weeks. What are some good things from you that you've seen, and what are some things that you're like disappointed with? What do you think?
Yeah, so in terms of positive, I really have been blown away with Tyler Conklin in particular. I personally, like, for the last few months, I feel like I'm not the only one, but I've been saying that
Right.
I think he is going to end up being the tight end one who gets a lot of the attention in the passing game, and that's kind of been justified through the first preseason game. I mean, Zach Wilson hit him on third down to extend the drive, and all camp long, it feels like whoever the quarterback is, that they're trying to look for Tyler Conklin. So I've been blown away. I think he has a really big year. And then in terms of disappointment, it's hard not to say Denzel Mims for me, because I really loved him coming out of Baylor. And as a rookie, I thought he was solid. I thought he flashed in a really, really bad offense. Last year was just a disaster in every sense of the word. And then this year coming back, it hasn't been all bad. There's been some nice moments. Like, for instance, he had a really nice catch. I think it was yesterday or maybe the day before
Yeah,
in
yeah.
training camp. And then in the first preseason game, he had a couple of catches. But then you have, the mental mistakes of the penalty and then the drop. It's like with him, it feels like you take one step forward and then it's two steps back. So I really wish he could figure it out in his head, because it's not a physical issue. It's not a talent issue. It's just something going on upstairs with him because he has all the physical attributes to be a good player, but it's just not working out right now.
I agree. I agree. When he got drafted when we drafted him coming from Baylor, I was like, oh yes, like let's go. And then like with Becton, I was like, let's go. So it's like it's one of those things where it sucks when injuries happen, especially with the last three guys. But I'm hoping that they can bounce back, and hopefully we can just continue to go on during the season as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. The injuries that really unfortunately derail the season, and it's no fun.
What do you think of Joe Flacco? I know you touched a little bit about it, with your last video. What do you think about him and the backup that he brings, the veteran present that he brings as well?
Yeah, I think he's fine as a backup. Obviously, this is someone who has had a lot of starting experience and a lot of success in this league. That was a while ago at this point, but over the last 2 years, he's kind of developed into more of a backup role later in his career. But I thought last year when he came in against the Dolphins, he looked good. He had over 290 yards and a couple of touchdowns. He's someone who I'm comfortable with if he has to come in and give you a game or two. That's great. Obviously, I didn't want to watch a full 17 game season of Joe Flacco playing quarterback. But if it's week one, maybe week one and week two where he has to start, that's fine. But once Zach Wilson's healthy and get some practice under his belt, I think that Zach has to come in and start playing again. I've seen too much of, well, if Flacco starts out hot, you just keep him in there and ride the hot hand. I think that'd be a mistake. I think it would be a disservice to this team because you have to know what Zach Wilson is after this year. And I feel like you'd almost just be wasting time with Joe Flacco at quarterback if Wilson's healthy.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more, especially with we invested so much into Zach Wilson as well, and just investing the pieces around him. Now I know when Becton went down, we signed Dwayne Brown to a 2-year deal. What do you think on Becton's replacement?
Yeah, I really like Dwayne Brown. He's going to come in and play on the left side. That was a little bit of a question mark when he first signed, was whether he'd play left tackle or right tackle. But I think he's a really steady player. Obviously, he was a Pro Bowler last year, a 5-time Pro Bowler in his career. Yeah, some people are concerned with the age at 37, and I get that, but he still played, even in 2020, he played at a high level. I actually thought his 2020 season was better than last year when he made the Pro Bowl. He didn't make the Pro Bowl in 2020, but I think he's going to be fine. And playing next to another Pro Bowler in Lincoln Tomlinson is certainly going to help things as well. So I'm really not too worried about the offensive line.
Me neither. I think as much as we love Becton, I think he's going to fit in really well. Especially, it's been such a great upgrade. I feel like even though when Becton did go down, there's always the potential, but you have a proven 3-time Pro Bowler, a future Hall of Famer, in my opinion. And I think it's going to be. I think it'll work out. I hope. Fingers crossed, right?
Yeah, fingers crossed. I hope so. I don't see why it wouldn't.
Yeah, definitely. Now, is there any other trades you think the Jets should make, or make a splash? Because you always know Joe D's always cooking with something, right? So, what do you think? What do you think the Jets need with that?
Yeah, I don't know if they're necessarily going to make a trade to bring someone in, but it wouldn't shock me if they end up taking one of these defensive linemen who maybe they are going to end up having to cut and flip them for like a day 3 pick, whether it's a Vinny Curry or a Tenzel Smart or a Jabari Zuniga, someone like that. And we've seen it done before. Like, for instance, Blake Cashman was traded. I can't believe Joe Douglas got anything for Blake Cashman. So like
I know,
something
right?
similar along those lines. I wouldn't be surprised if they take someone who, maybe people are thinking about is probably going to be a cut candidate and they end up flipping for like a 6th or 7th round pick.
I mean, and Joe Douglas, we trust. I mean, he's always cooking up with that kind of thing, especially getting capital back that you wouldn't expect to get capital back. So that's always nice. So going into this season, especially we just had the draft a few months ago. I think arguably this has been the best draft of the New York Jets in a very long time. Who was the guy that you liked that the Jets got when the draft was happening?
Yeah, it's so hard to pick just one because I was really impressed with this draft class, but I think the one that I want to talk about most is Garrett Wilson. I thought they really needed an explosive playmaker at the wide receiver position, and they got just that in Garrett Wilson, who I think is probably the best player from this, best wide receiver, excuse me, from this draft class. His mix of the route running ability and speed that he has, on top of the way that he can go up and catch the football. I think he has all the makings of being a wide receiver one at some point in this year. And I really think him and Elijah Moore, that 1-2 punch, could be a dangerous combination.
I couldn't agree more. And then you have Barrios in the slot. You have that veteran presence with Corey Davis, and you never know who's going to win. With Calvin Jackson and Jeff Smith. I think adding someone like Garrett Wilson will definitely solidify and also have a really great impact with Zach Wilson and whoever's going to be the quarterback coming down the stretch. For me, it was Sauce Gardner. I love Sauce Gardner. I've been following him throughout college, and for me also with Jamison Williams. I wanted Jamison Williams a little bit because he's the St. Louis boy. He's the hometown boy, and I'm from St. Louis, Missouri.
There you go.
So I can see myself with that, but I wasn't upset. I love that we had Garrett Wilson. Go into Breece Hall though. What do you think? Everyone is putting this rookie expectation on that he's going to be the rookie of the year or offensive rookie of the year. Is that fair assumption for him?
It sounds lofty, but it's really not that crazy, because I think usually this is an award that goes to a quarterback, but I think most of these quarterbacks who were drafted this year are going to sit. Maybe Kenny Pickett starts the most out of the bunch, but I think they end up going with Mitch Trubisky to start the year. And I think he, being Breece Hall, has as good of a chance as anybody to come away with this award. He's going to get his reps. I think, I love Michael Carter, who the Jets have and drafted last year, but Breece Hall is just, he's a better guy, and he's going to be the bell cow. And Carter will come in and spell him when need be in certain packages and stuff like that, and on third down. But Breece is going to be involved in both the rushing and the passing game too. I don't know if people realize how good he is out of the backfield catching the ball. And when you have a young quarterback, it's always nice to have that safety blanket. So I think he has an immediate impact on this team.
I couldn't agree more. I love what you said. I love the 1-2 punch with Michael Carter, and like you said with Breece Hall, we haven't had that kind of tandem since Tomlinson and Green, in my opinion. And I think it's really nice that we have something like that back as well. Now going into the free agency, right? We picked up CJ Uzama, Tyler Conklin, Jordan Whitehead, Mr. Reed. What was your favorite, or at least one of your favorites in free agency this past year?
Yeah, I'm gonna go DJ Reed. I think he's been really underrated by some people. He was really good as a shutdown corner last year on the outside for Seattle, and I think he's a perfect fit for this system. He's good in zone. He can play man when he has to. And obviously, like, Sauce Gardner is going to get all the attention as the number 4 overall pick, as he should. This guy has all the talent in the world. He was great in college, has the prototypical size, but with DJ Reed, I just think he's going to be solid and steady, and maybe not steal the headlines, but I think he's going to be a really quality starter for this team, which is, they need guys like that.
I agree. And especially when he has that connection with Saleh, with the San Francisco 49ers. It's really cool to see, especially when Dwayne Brown was talking about in his press conference with the connection with Saleh. And also he wanted to come here because he knew players already in the culture. It's nice that the culture has been switched. Now going into that, we got two more preseason games left going into the season. I know a lot of people probably have asked you this question, and I want to know as well. What is your season expectations for the Jets?
Yeah, for me, like, I don't think it's fair to say, like, oh, this team has to make the playoffs. I don't think that's a
Mhm.
reasonable expectation for where the Jets are, but they definitely have to be much more competitive than what they were last year. They only won 4 games. They had the worst defense in the league. There's no reason why the Jets can't come out and win 7, 8, 9 games and be competitive, week in and week out. I think the offense will look a lot better. I think Zach Wilson does take a step forward. And there's too much talent on the offensive side of the ball for there to be any excuse for him if he doesn't take that step forward. defensively, you got Carl Lawson coming back, Jermaine Johnson in the draft, Sauce Gardner in the draft, Jordan Whitehead in free agency. Like that excuses are starting to run out for the defensive coordinator as well. So they need to take a little bit of a step forward. There's still more work to be done, and the AFC is so loaded. So again, I don't think they're going to be a playoff team, but to me, it's not unreasonable to ask to hover around 500 for the season. Like I think that's fair and completely, an acceptable expectation from Jet fans.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's one of those things that we don't make that leap this year. A lot of people are going to be on the hot seat, next year or maybe even the year after. But if things don't work out this year, I still think we should keep Salah and Joe Douglas or some of the guys like Matt LaFleur, in my opinion. What do you think of what Salah and Douglas have done so far leading up to a year ago and this year? Is it something that's kind of like this is what we've been waiting for since the Rex Ryan days? What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think there's a team that's heading in the right direction. They do both of them, both Douglas and Salah need to start getting some wins under their belt because winning the offseason, having great drafts and free agency is part of the process, and they've done a really nice job. But it starts to have to translate on the field. So I'm optimistic about both Douglas and Salah. I think the team is in the best position that it's been in a very long time, and I think it's going to work out. And I think Zach Wilson is the right answer here at quarterback. It's just a matter of proving it on the football field at this point. And, it's a wait and see, but by this time next year, we should pretty much know about Zach Wilson, Robert Saleh, and Joe Douglas, and if they're going to be around here for the future or not. But I'm pretty positive with those three guys. I think they're, all here for the next little bit.
I agree. I agree. Now going back to training camp, I forgot to ask this question. Who would be a surprise keep for the Jets and a surprise cut for the Jets?
Ooh, okay. For you know what? I think I'm gonna go with the same position for both of these, and they kind of link together. So my surprise keep, I'm gonna say undrafted free agent Zonovan Knight, the running back. I really liked him a lot, and I think that he provides value on special teams, which matters. If you're going to be like the third running back on the roster, you have to be able to play specials. So I really liked what we saw from him in the preseason and training camp so far. And as a result, obviously you have to move on from another running back. And I think Tevin Coleman could be cut because I don't know how many running backs you're going to end up wanting to carry here. And yeah, he's a veteran of the bunch, so maybe he ends up sticking around for that reason. But if the Jets roll into the season with their three running backs of Breece Hall, Michael Carter, and Zonovan Knight, I wouldn't be mad at that at all. I think that's a fine running back room.
I agree. And I think it also just brings how much we are stacked at each position. Just like Salah said in his press conference, we're going to cut NFL football players. We're going to cut some good players. Then that just shows how much, either if you're an undrafted free agent or a draft pick, on how much that you're not safe yet. You got to earn your spot. You got to earn your playing time. And I'm really happy with Zonovan Knight has been doing. I know Tevin Coleman, they Salah and him got that connection as well. But I'm rooting for him. I love that we have a 1-2 punch, but you never know if anybody gets hurt, right? So if anyone gets hurt, you need that really good backup right there. And I think Knight can do that. So I think P. Ryan is going to go. I think Tevin Coleman is probably is on the hot seat, but I think filling Knight in as that third one, I think it'll work out. What do you think?
Yeah, I love that. And I think you're right. I think, P. Ryan probably goes. Ty Johnson also probably goes. But yeah, it's like you said, and we talked about earlier too, the defensive line. There's so many guys there. Like they're going to have to cut some good
Right.
players, and other teams,
Right.
they'll pick them up on the waiver wire.
And do you think for safety, do you like Joyner? Do you like Joyner? Do you like as well as Pinnock? Are you comfortable with having those guys right there?
I like Lamarcus Joyner. My concern with him is his health. He misses a lot of time. He hasn't played a ton of football over the last couple of years. I think Pinnock showed some flashes last year. So I'd probably want one of those two guys to play free safety. I'm not the biggest Ashton Davis fan. I think he's a great athlete, but his pursuit angles and trying to tackle the ball carrier are a little bizarre at times, and I think he can get lost in coverage. So I don't necessarily want him to be starting for this team, but yeah, if we're being honest, free safety is probably the position on the defense that I'm most worried about right now. I think it has the potential to be a little bit of a weaker spot just because Joyner is such a question mark with his health. And while Pinnock looked okay, I thought last year, it was in such a small sample size, it's hard to tell what you'd get from him over a full year.
I agree. We all, and also he's getting up there kind of with age a little bit, but I don't know that he has a great connection with what Jordan White has as well. But I think overall, I love that we have a lot of young guys stepping in, just like at the linebacker position. We got Quincy Williams and Mosley, and you're thinking, Sherwood can go in and be that in and out guy with now his son Quan Alexander. It's kind of like the same situation also with Sauce Gardner and Bryce Hall. It's like about time that we have someone that we actually trust, But we all know the injuries that happen on defense with Joyner's history. I think now for me, if we were going to go after and get somebody, it would be safety for me. I don't want to see Bryce Hall leave, but I think safety. I'm just a little bit worried, but that's the only one I'm worried about because our front line is great. I mean, upgrade that position very, very well. So that's what I think with the safety position.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point too. And the defensive line I think is going to be fine. You added cornerbacks in the draft and free agency. I really like the Quan Alexander addition too at linebacker. That was a position that was a little bit weaker, but Quan being added to the mix I think helps there. So I think you're onto something with safety. That one safety spot could be the weak link.
Awesome, definitely. Now we all know we don't like the Patriots, right? We don't like the Patriots, Dolphins, Bills. I know we could say probably in years past we don't have a chance of beating them, beating them, a few years ago and even last year. Do you think now, since the team has changed so much and heading in the right direction with culture and stuff, do you think we have a chance in our own division to beat them?
Yeah, I definitely do. I think they took a little bit of a step back. They lost their offensive coordinator. I don't love their wide receiver room. They have two good tight ends who can catch the football, but the wide receiver room leaves a little bit to be desired. And defensively, their cornerback room, they just lost Malcolm Butler, and they might have to start Sean Wade at corner this year. That's sketchy. So my hope is that you're able to attack and take advantage with the Jets wide receivers, which should be a strength. And there's no reason that the Jets can't compete with them this year. That would be horrendous if you're getting blown out like you did last year against the Patriots.
Agreed. What do you think about the Dolphins and Bills as well?
So for the Dolphins, I think the Jets and Dolphins are in kind of a similar boat. Same with the Patriots. I really think all three of those teams are somewhere in between that 7 and 9 win mark, so roughly 500. The Dolphins, I'm adding Tyreek Hill is a major plus. I like Mike McDaniel a ton. I wanted him to come over with Sal as an offensive coordinator before they announced LaFleur, and believe me, I'm more than thrilled with LaFleur. I've just liked Mike McDaniel for a long time. And the one thing I'll say about them though is they have a major question mark at the quarterback position in Tua. And he's really struggled in training camp and in the preseason so far. So I'm not the biggest Tua believer. So I think that might hold them back a little bit, but the rest of that roster is pretty solid.
I agree, especially with them adding Tyreek Hill and then getting a bunch of people in free agency. It definitely is like, okay, well, now they're not the only sucky team in Florida. You got Tampa Bay that's been killing over the years, and now Jacksonville might make a splash with Mr. Peterson being the coach. It's kind of like, okay, well, 3-4 teams are good now. It's like what they say about the Jets and Giants. But as for the Bills, though, what do you think about that one?
Yeah, to me, they're the best team in the division by a pretty wide margin. They're a Super Bowl contender and a Super Bowl favorite for a good reason. Josh Allen has been unbelievable for them. That roster, top to bottom, is just unbelievable. They have a ton of depth. They have a great coach. They're good on offense. They're good on defense. They could beat you in so many different ways. They finally added to the running back room a little bit. They have a very, very good chance to win a Super Bowl. I don't see how they don't win 12 or more games this year.
I agree. I agree. And unfortunately, I agree, right? Because you want to see the Jets to go number one. But I it's kind of like one of those things with Zach Wilson, right? Josh Allen had the similar steps going into his second year, hoping Zach Wilson makes that step because not only does Zach Wilson need it, Jet Station, we deserve it. We've been fans since we were kids. We deserve a winning team, and we deserve to not hear that stupid phrase, same old Jets, right?
Well, I hate it. It's like nails on a chalkboard. I hate that expression so much. But it's hard to say anything against it when you look at what's happened specifically over the last 10 years. They've
Right.
been worse, a historic laughing stock. So if they could change that narrative, that'd be phenomenal.
Agreed. Agreed. Do you now, like you said, you don't go to much games and stuff. You're going to the game on Monday. Um, if you had to pick this year the game to go to, right? Like the biggest it could be a rivalry game. It could be just maybe it could be the Browns or it could be the Bengals. What's the number one game that's like a must see for
Okay.
to go to a Jets game?
Yeah, so we are also a big group of us with the Jet Lounge and Ryan and Green Bean and Richie from Jets Media. We're going to be there opening day too, which I'm so excited for. But I'll give you another answer besides opening day, which is going to the first game is always a lot of fun to go to. But it's a team we talked about earlier, the Patriots, the Jets versus Patriots. It's a different energy, even without Tom Brady now. It's still they're probably the most heated rival. The Jets have been dominated by the Patriots for years now. They haven't beaten them since 2015. So I would go Jets Pats.
Very good, very good. For my 30th birthday, I'm going to the Jets home opener. My first MetLife game, first home opener for the Jets. So I'm super excited. So I'm going to be
Enjoy that. Enjoy it.
uh, it's going to be awesome. So I used to work for the Rams. I was a flag guy on the field, and I was on their street team for the Rams. So I kind of missed that edge,
Yeah.
But I was always on like work mode. Right now, I can finally just go and relax.
Yeah,
So
it's
it's
gonna be a
nice.
completely.
Yeah, because I've always been alone, with being a Jets fan in St. Louis, being alone. Now I'm starting to figure out more guys coming along, which is really nice that I'm discovering. But everyone keeps telling me that opening day is the must see, right? Like you said with the Pats. Is that true? Being in MetLife, because you've been to many games, so is MetLife like that great to be at home opener?
Yeah, I would say so. And like this is gonna be kind of playing to that same old Jets narrative, but when it's opening day and like everyone has the same record, right? There's no wins, there's no losses, the expectations
Right.
are the highest. The stadium's there, they're rocking, they do the player introductions before the games. The weather's usually really good. So it is totally a different environment when you're there for the opener for sure.
Man, awesome. I love hearing that. It just gets me jacked up even more. Um, but so my last question for you to end the night with you, Mr. Mavalier, we appreciate you being on the show. Who is your favorite New York Jets player of all time? It could be this era, it could be, when you were a kid. Who would say your favorite is?
Can I cheat and give you two? I don't know if I can
Do
now.
it.
All right.
Do it.
So I'm gonna
Yeah.
give you one offense and one defense. Offense,
There you go. It's perfect.
we talked about Curtis Martin a little bit earlier. He was such a major impact for me in my early fandom, getting me hooked in. Like I was saying earlier, like anytime the ball was in his hands, it was just you knew something special could happen. And on the defense, this one, it's not necessarily a popular pick. It's a little random, but Sean Ellis. I just loved how Sean Ellis played. I thought he was solid and steady on this team for a very, very long time. A reliable guy. Kind of reminds me of like oh my god, like John Franklin Myers now on the team, where he's like a bigger defensive end who's, maybe never going to be that star, but is just a reliable guy week in and week out. And I had I met Sean Ellis at a restaurant like when I was like 12 years old, and it was it was the best. He was awesome. He took a picture with me, signed my jersey. It's hanging up right over here. I don't know if you could see it, but
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I would both Curtis Martin and Sean Ellis are my guys.
Man, that's awesome. Any special teams? Do you want to add, any special
Ooh,
teams favorite?
yeah, it's a coin flip between either Leon Washington or Brad Smith.
Mm,
I loved both of those
mm.
guys as returners. Obviously one running back, one is a wide receiver, but from the same era. Both of I don't know if I could choose between those two. Both of those guys, they're special to me. I love them both.
Very good. Brad Smith for me,
Okay,
it would be because he went to Mizzou. He went to Mizzou because of special
there you
teams,
go.
So I love Brad Smith. Saw his whole career. For me, I love Curtis Martin, Joe Namath, and Wayne Corbett. But on defense, for me, it's hard, right? It's really hard. So Revis always comes into mind with me, Cromartie, but I really love Riggins. I've been a huge Riggins fan for a long time. So I'm happy with that, and also with LT, right? We all love what LT brought to the table, and Jason Taylor. I know I'm rambling like too many players, but that I love what you said about having Curtis Martin and then also with Brad Smith and Leon Washington. I love that.
There you go. Yeah, there's a lot of them from my younger days, but even recent. I feel like I usually gravitate toward not necessarily like the most popular guy on the team, but just someone in there that is just I don't know, just plays the game hard and is a fan favorite kind of guy.
Agreed. Agreed. Now, Larry, where can they find you on social media or anything else?
Yeah, you can find me on social media at Matt O'Leary NY on YouTube. We're on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, talking Jets, having a good time, keeping things light. So if you like football and you like having fun, check it out.
Awesome. Guys, follow everything NYJ on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. There's more coming from you throughout the month and throughout the year. Everything NYJ. I'm Gino Pagano Mallory. Thanks for being on the show, and good night, guys.